Welcome to the Women Inspired podcast, brought to you by Modern Well, a beautiful woman-centered collaborative workspace in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm your host, April Seifert, psychologist, entrepreneur, and self-proclaimed life experience junkie. Each week, I will introduce you to a different woman who is succeeding and inspiring others in one way or another. We'll dive into her story, her successes, failures, and the lessons she has learned along the way, all with the goal of inspiring you to listen to that inner voice who keeps reminding you that there is something you want to take action on. You are so much more capable and powerful than you give yourself credit for. Inside of you is a woman on fire. Let's let her out and see what happens. Here we go. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Women Inspired podcast. I'm thrilled you joined us this week because we have an incredibly powerful guest this week. My name is April Seifert. I am your host, and this week we are speaking with the wonderful and inspiring Karen Magill. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You have a really cool backstory, and we have a ton in common, and this episode could go straight off the rails, and I'm going to work really hard to try to make sure that that doesn't happen. For people who have listened to me for a little while and listened to a few episodes of mine, you're going to know almost instantly why I say that. But before we get into anything else, Karen, can you give us just a little background on yourself and just a little bit of your back history so we can get to know you?
Okay, well, I say that my life started in June of 2000. The year before, I'd gotten a job with the Canadian government, but on June 5th, I woke up partially paralyzed on one side of my body. 9 days later, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and by the end of September, the disease forced me to go on disability. I took 30% cut in pay. I was 35 years old, and I thought that my life was over.
That is like a terrifying realization. To have woken up and realized that you are paralyzed. That had to have been terrifying.
Well, what it was, I rolled over to turn off the alarm and my arm didn't move. It just kind of flopped. Then when I got up to go to the bathroom, my left leg collapsed underneath me. And I've been told by people, nurses, there's no way I could have done this. But I had to go to the bathroom. So I did make it to the washroom. Kind of crawling, I guess, and dragging myself on one side.
Okay, wow. So for those who have listened to me for a little while now, it's probably pretty evident as to why I started this podcast episode the way that I did. Karen and I actually share a diagnosis. So I was actually diagnosed with MS when I was very young. I was about 14 years old. And I know from my own experience that once you receive that diagnosis, that kicks off a pretty decent roller coaster of events. Tell me a little bit about what that was like, both in terms of, what did you do at first? How did your symptoms change? All of the stuff that comes with that unbelievably unpredictable diagnosis.
Well, at first, it was summertime, and then I started having reactions to medications. I got this really thick rash, an allergic reaction to it. So that made life a bit unbearable that summer. I ended up taking 5 weeks off work. Every symptom I heard about, I seemed to manifest. It was just so freaky. And as you know, with MS, the symptoms can come and go. But I kept walking. I walked with a cane for many years, kept walking, and I kept trying to get through because this is the way I was always brought up. I would thought that, I'd take some time off work and then I'd go back and everything would be just like it used to be. But that's not what happened. I couldn't handle the work schedule.
So tell me a little bit about when that had to have been emotionally heavy. When I think about just some of the details you've shared with us thus far, not being able to move as much, not having as much capability as you did before, taking a 30% pay cut, having your job change, those are huge, massive changes that really impact people. How did you handle that emotionally in the beginning?
Well, I was, to put it mildly, I was kind of freaked out. I was trying to get through and act really strong, like nothing was wrong. But for months there, until probably January, I was up and down constantly. I was fighting with unemployment. Like I had to go on unemployment insurance while I waited for my disability benefits to kick in. And I was fighting with them because they kept saying, well, your doctor didn't give you a date when you're going to get better because he said I was likely never to. What I ended up doing was I returned to what I always loved, was music and writing. I started writing again. Actually, the first thing I had published in January 2001 was a poem called Inside My Head.
That's awesome. Is that, I'm kind of thinking back to a comment that you made just a little bit earlier. You talked about how your life began at 35 with this diagnosis. Is that where you're going with it? I mean, is that what you were kind of thinking about?
Well, my parents always brought me up to try to find the best in every situation. And when I decided that, yes, I would be better off going on disability, my first thought was, well, I always wanted to have a chance to write. I mean, I've been writing since I was a child. And I always wanted to have the freedom to be able to just sit at home and write. And now I had it.
And you didn't, I mean, so I have the benefit of knowing a little bit more about your backstory. You didn't just, I mean, maybe it included writing in a journal and doing some of that type of thing that people typically would think about as writing. Yours was much more prolific and a bigger deal than that. Tell us a little bit about your authorship journey, because it's pretty epic.
Well, right now I have 5 books published. My first, The Bond, a Paranormal Love Story, has been translated into Turkish. It's won an award, and it's been adapted to film. I wrote, on the right side, my story of survival and success, the year I gave up the cane.
So has your writing really followed your journey with this condition? Have you found that the condition inspired some of the things that you were writing about in these books that you've published? You know,
actually, MS only appears in the one book on the right side. The others, like I say, are paranormal. The Bond I'd written years ago before I got sick, and I just pulled it out, dusted it off, and rewrote parts of it, and then self-published it. And I self-published the next one. My third one combines Vancouver history with paranormal, my third and fourth book, and they were published initially by Saga Books, which was a small publishing house that has since closed.
So what I think is really interesting about what you've shared is, you know, you got this diagnosis that is, you know, for anyone who's had a major health diagnosis happen, you know that it can be, I mean, it can just be completely life-changing. And in your case, you know, it was a catalyst to start something that you really wanted to have the time to do. Lots of people don't do that. I mean, lots of people would take that diagnosis and think that their life had ended and think that there was nothing more that they were going to be able to do. But you didn't do that. What was that journey, and how did you do that? How did that happen?
Well, I like to liken it to attacking a mountain. Like there's been a big mountain put in your path. Now, you can climb over it, hopefully, maybe, or around it. But the best way, the easiest way I found, is that you would just attack it. One pebble, one stone. Like I say, if necessary, do one small thing every day that's going to lead you to your goal. Doesn't have to be major. Some days there will be major things. And then some days you're going to do something that's going to take you onto a different path. Follow that path or get back onto the one you want.
I love the way that you described that, because it's exactly the way that I feel like I get on here every single week and I preach to people about how they can go after some of their big goals. But really, that is the only way, right? I mean, that is the only way. You pick one thing you're going to do each day, or maybe it's a few things, whatever it is, but you're not going to be able to attack the entire mountain at the same time. You're going to have to pick some small things. And eventually those things add up. And I mean, what I've found is that as people start to take that approach, those things add up fast. Have you noticed that? I mean, like you make so much progress.
Yes, I did notice that. And it's like I said, people would ask me and I'd go, well, I don't know. You know, I just did it. And then I started looking back and realizing you don't even realize what's happening. You just, one more day, you're getting closer and closer to your goal. It's like I gave a speech at, it's called My Story Mondays here in Vancouver. And it's been on Shaw Cable, so I've actually had my television debut too recently.
Nice. That's awesome. That's really exciting.
But unfortunately, I don't have TV, so I couldn't watch it.
I mean, you're absolutely right that you don't realize how much traction you're getting and how much progress you're making until you take the time to look back and realize how far you've come. And those little steps that feel like they're not that big of a deal on a day-to-day basis truly are a big deal in the long run. I think it was, what was it, Tony Robbins or somebody like big into the self-development arena like that said people underestimate what they can do in 10 years, but they overestimate what they can do in 10 minutes. You know, just take one small thing and do it in that 10 minutes, but you have no idea the mountain you're going to come over in the next 10 years if you do that.
And quit trying to rush it, because those 10 years are going to pass anyways.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, the thing is that you can sit around and watch TV and do nothing. You can sit here and moan about your life, or you can go out and have fun. And like I say, those 10 years are going to go by anyways. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's been almost 18 years since I was diagnosed. So it's amazing how fast that went. But like I say, those years are going to pass. Now, wouldn't you rather have been doing something? It doesn't have to be really big. I mean, take a course, learn something. That's what I first started doing when I first became disabled, is I started taking courses. I took one on abnormal psychology, a home study course, and another one on art, just for the fun of taking it and to keep your mind active. And then you can start focusing on those bigger goals. And whether you actually achieve that goal or it changes in time, it doesn't matter. You are at least doing something for you. And you feel more alive.
Totally agree. Oh my God. I love that okay, so there's like 3 things that I want to unpack with that. The fact that those 10 years are going to pass anyway. You are absolutely right. Our path down this timeline that we're on, it's going to happen one way or the other. And there was a set of episodes, actually, a couple of them. I actually talked about my MS journey in one of them at the very beginning of 2018, my first couple episodes of the year. And a point that I really drove home during those episodes is that you have one life to live. You're going to be here once, and you have a limited amount of time. And for most people, it's going to not be enough time. Like, at some point, you're going to realize that you've gotten to a point in your life that you can't go back, and you're going to start to realize how precious that time was. And I love that, you're taking such a focus on making sure that you're enjoying that journey in spite of the fact that you've got a barrier in your life that most people don't have. I just think that is absolutely amazing.
Well, the same goes for you.
No, I mean, I do have that same barrier in my life. And that, to be honest, you say that your life began when you were diagnosed. My diagnosis was such a catalyst for so many changes in my life and so many things. It basically just rewired my relationship with fear. I just was no longer afraid of some of the dumb things that just aren't that important, that we all know are not that important, right? But sometimes we let them get in the way of us. I didn't have time. I didn't know how long I was going to be able to see. So my vision went a couple of times. I didn't know how long I was going to be able to see, how long I was going to be able to walk, how far this condition would take itself, and how disabled I would end up. I'd have no idea and when that would happen. And so to me, every single day felt urgent, and every day felt like a big opportunity. Do you feel that same way?
Yes, and I guess you could say yes, I do. I mean, I've been fortunate that I'm still walking around. If you look at me, you'd never know I had MS. All my turmoil seems to be on the inside. And I recently found out that, I've known for years that because I haven't had a major attack since that one back in 2000, it's unlikely I'll have another major one. And now that I'm almost 55, apparently the disease slows down once you hit 55.
I didn't even know that. That's good to know. I got that to look forward to.
Well, that's what my specialist told me. I mean, I have had people with MS disagree with it because, of course, there's going to be exceptions. But that's what he told me. So I'm going to believe him because I figure I don't believe doctors on everything, but I'll believe him on that.
The other thing that I really loved that you said was you were talking about chipping away at a goal and working on a goal. And maybe at some point your goal might change and you might, go down a different path and go in a different direction. I find that when I talk to people, they get really nervous about that prospect, about the idea that, especially if they've told people like, hey, my goal is to write a book. And maybe in the process of writing a book, you realize, this stuff that I'm writing, this isn't a book. This is actually a series of essays, or this is actually a blog. This doesn't feel like a book anymore. And they kind of go off path. What can happen is people around us can be like, wait. I thought you said you were writing a book. I thought you said blah, 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 blah. And it just, to me, it discounts the journey that we're on. And it discounts the fact that you're going to learn information 2 weeks from now that you don't know now. And you're going to take that into account. I'm curious about your thoughts with that, because sometimes people feel like you have to set a goal and like charge forward no matter what. And I'm more of a free spirit that I think you're going to adjust course and you're going to learn things along the way. Curious about your opinion.
Well, a prime example of that is that when I published my nonfiction on the right side, I was looking for ways to promote it. And I thought, okay, public speaking. Now, I've never been fond of public speaking, but there was a thing called the Bill Conference coming to Vancouver, and it was the first Canadian city to get it. And okay, fine. So I messaged them and said, okay, I want to speak for 10 minutes, hit send, and then thought I was going to be sick. I got up on stage and I forgot 3 minutes of my 10-minute speech, but I fell in love with public speaking. Now I've been through Toastmasters, and like I said, I did My Story Mondays, and now I'm looking at motivational speaking as a career. See, I still like to write, but it's been put aside right now to help because now I'm doing the coaching, the debt reduction coaching, and I'm speaking now, looking to get into the speaking. Your goals do change because you change. You evolve and adjust, so naturally your goals are going to. You may find something and it isn't because it's too hard to do or it's taking too much money to do it. It's because you don't have the passion you did for that you used to have for that. And that's fine. Like I say, you're growing up. Your passions are going to change. I mean, I used to be in love with Sean Cassidy.
That's awesome.
Well, I did.
Well, and what's cool about that is it's recognizing the importance of the experience that you're having. The fact that you are still full of passion day in and day out. And ultimately, a lot of the goals and a lot of the things that we chase after, they're hobbies, right? Like, I want to get out there. Like, I decided I wanted to learn how to skydive and I wanted to get my license. There was nothing in my job or my livelihood or my real life that was riding on that. If I dumped that goal halfway through, it didn't matter. But the point is, like, feeling fulfilled and feeling passionate and feeling like you're chasing something that's exciting and fun and fulfilling to you, that's the point. And so I love the way that you put it. It was so succinct and perfect that your goals change because you change. That's exactly right. And so now it's like paying homage to that new person who was developed because you've been on the journey that you're on. It's like paying homage to that new person and letting her have a great experience, even though she's slightly different and a different person than, she was 6 months ago. She maybe has different goals, maybe has different excitement, different ideas. I love that.
It's not only that, as you get into trying to accomplish your goal, you may find things that are going, hey, no, I don't really want this once you learn more about it.
Yes. How are you going to know? I mean, I think my grandma told me one time when she came back from Hawaii, I was really young. I think I was like 3 or 4 years old, and she handed me a piece of pineapple and I said I didn't like it. And she said, how are you going to know if you like it until you try it? I mean, that's like the age-old thing. Like, listen to your grandparents, right? They have some wisdom. But I mean, how will you know? And how would you have known that you love public speaking had you not gotten up on that stage?
Because I never did before. I mean, I was always the one, that would sit, especially if I knew the speaker I would heckle the speaker. Just ask my older brother. He spoke at a few family events, and of course I had to throw out all the insults I could. So I was not one that I thought I would actually get up on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of mentioned in passing a little bit some of the work that you're doing now in debt reduction coaching. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I found that, like I say, I'm disabled by MS, but so many people are disabled by debt. And when, like I said, I mentioned that I took a 30% cut in pay when I went on disability. Well, what I didn't tell you is that I've been spending my money faster than I was making it, because I only worked a year for the government, but I'd gone from working part-time minimum wage to $20,000 a year, and then more than doubled that 6 months later. And I was getting so many things on credit. I ended up having to file for bankruptcy. But once that was off my record, I found I was doing the same things again, spending in the same ways. So I came up with a system to keep myself in control. And right now, I have an introductory offer. It's introductory course. This is the first part of my debt reduction coaching. And it goes over the 5 steps that I used. It's available as an email course off my website. But I want people to know, if you've got debt, like unsecured debt's what I work with, it doesn't have to rule your life. You can get control of it, and you can focus on your other goals. I'm still paying off old debt, and I struggle occasionally going, no, you don't want to buy that, keeping myself in check. But I use the tools that I've created. And I just want everyone, especially women, so much of our life, I mean, they tease us about being shoppers. Women know they all love to shop. Personally, I don't love to shop, but
amen,
that's
sister.
another story.
I hate shopping. Oh my God, I'm right there with you.
Oh yeah. That's why I think I love internet shopping.
Oh my God, yes. You don't have to go there and talk to people and do all the stuff. You can just find the thing so fast.
Right. That's why I like, you don't have to deal with people. It's like, but we get teased about it a lot. I mean, it's all, stereotype, but a lot of women do it. And there's so many other things we can do with our time. And we can get these goals done. I can help you control your debt. So you can, how do I put this? I told this to you before. I love helping people achieve their goals.
We have that in common. We so have that in common. And it is, there have been past episodes where I've talked a little bit about money, not necessarily debt, because there's 2 sides of the coin, right? There's income and there's debt, but they both factor into the bottom line of how financially healthy are you. And there's ultimately, for me, being financially healthy and having cash or money that isn't going toward debt, like having that ability, that's something that was a big shift in my life. I won't go into that whole story, but I've been on both sides of the coin where I didn't have it, and then I've been on the side of the coin where I do. And to me, and it sounds like you might have a similar view, money and that ability to be out of debt and have money available, it buys you opportunity and flexibility and options and margin and all of those things that you just need to have a really calm existence. If you don't have, if debt is crippling you or you don't have the income to sustain your lifestyle, and it doesn't have to be a lavish lifestyle, just a decent lifestyle, you just don't have the options and opportunity that allows you to do some of the things that you're saying and go after your goals. Is that kind of how you think about it? Because it just really sounds like we're in a really similar headspace.
That is very much how I think about it. I also think about it this way, is that, like I say, I help you get control of it so it's not so weighing so heavy on you, because I don't want people to sit there and go, well, I'm going to go after that goal once I get my debt paid off. And then the debt just keeps mounting up. because there always seems to be an excuse. Whereas if you can get it under control and then you're starting to pursue your goal now, do what you can to get there, you'll find that that debt will keep going down and you'll be in a much better frame of mind because you are pursuing your goal and you're getting there.
Heck yeah. And people already come up with enough reasons why they shouldn't go chase after their big goals, right? I'm not good enough and I don't have the right expertise and I don't know what to do and it's too hard and whatever. All those crazy things. Don't let money be the thing that keeps you from doing it. You know, don't put another one in front of you that would be an excuse as to why you're not going to, you know, go after the big goal that you have.
Well, that's exactly it. And we can make enough excuses in our life. I mean, I know I'm good at it. I can rationalize anything I want.
This is wonderful. So you mentioned your website and where people can get an email course. Tell us about your website and some of the things that you offer from there.
Well, my website, www.karenmagill.com. You have, like I say, you'll start when you go there, the first thing you'll see, well, besides the banner, which is Karen Magill Coaching and Speaking, is where to sign up for the email course. But I also have snippets from my books, all of my books. I have some links to some of my speaking because I have been speaking around town, and information on my debt reduction coaching.
That's awesome. I know people are going to want to check you out, and I know they're going to want to check out your courses. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And I appreciate you being here and sharing your journey and being open to talking about, you know, some things that are really hard. It is not easy to be in a position where you've got a really big health barrier and a really big health situation going on. And I know, for one, from personal experience, there are a lot of crazy tentacles that come with MS, both emotional and physical and financial and otherwise, lifestyle, that it's not an easy one to handle. So I really appreciate you being here and you sharing your story with us today.
Well, like I said, thank you for having me.
Now, before I actually let you off the hook and let you go today, I have to ask you for one more thing. I ask everybody the same last question, and that is for your favorite motivational song, because we are compiling a Spotify Power playlist of motivational songs that kind of keep people pumped up. So I have to ask you for your favorite motivational song.
Okay, this one is actually from the 2010 Winter Olympics, which was held here in Vancouver. It's Bang the Drum by Bryan Adams and Nelly Furtado.
I love it. It is not on there yet, and it is an awesome one. I remember actually when the Olympics were in Vancouver, I think, did Roots do a bunch of the team's equipment and that type of thing? Because I loved the U.S. team's equipment, and I think it was Roots that did it.
I'm not sure.
Oh man, it was really awesome. So anyway, if anybody's listening to this, go back and look up the winner, team's equipment from that year. It was really cool. I'm totally off topic. Karen, thank you so much, honestly, for reaching out, for sharing your story, for being open, and for sharing. I mean, I didn't even expect us to go in the direction of some of the debt reduction stuff, but it is so incredibly important because you're absolutely right. It is a barrier to achieving your goals. And I love that you are helping people break down another barrier that would stand in their way. So thank you so much for being here today.
Well, like I said, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me this week for this interview with Karen Magill. There are a few things that I want to call out as always. Now, Karen said that her life began at age 35 when she was diagnosed with MS, and I know how crazy that sounds, but I can completely relate to that sentiment. Her experience was so similar to my own experience in getting diagnosed with MS myself. Now, if you're part of my email list, you know that in addition to the link to this episode, I also sent out links to a couple of back episodes of the podcast where I share my own MS journey and how it shaped the way that I live my life today. If you're not part of my email list, I highly suggest signing up at aprilseifert.com. But for the time being, you can go to aprilseifert.com and check out episodes number 39 and number 40. Now, if you put those together with this episode, what it all boils down to is this: live like your life depends on it, because it does. Your life is entirely comprised of a series of just todays. And the decisions you make, what you choose to do with your time, and who you choose to spend it with are absolutely mission critical to you living your best, most fulfilling, aligned life. And because of that, every single day should feel a bit urgent. I talked about that in my interview with Karen. I felt this sense of urgency to do all the things that I wanted to do. And I mean, it seems crazy to say, but even if you don't have a diagnosis, and even if you don't face something adverse, you are no different than Karen or I. Sure, you might not have that diagnosis now, but every single one of us is one conversation, one phone call away from a doctor telling us that there is something seriously wrong with us. We are one car accident away from something really severely bad happening to us. I don't mean to sound catastrophic, but that's just how life goes. Things happen. And the thing is, very few people get through their life without facing some kind of big adversity. And so the bottom line is, live now. Don't wait. Do the things that are meaningful to you. All right. The second thing I want to call out is something so awesome that Karen said. She was talking about how she suggests that people attack the mountain one pebble at a time. How many times have you heard me pontificate on this podcast about doing one small thing each day? And it was so awesome to have somebody else come on and say that exact same thing. The thing is, you don't even realize what's happening. You're just taking these tiny steps one at a time. And, when you have a really big, scary, audacious goal, that goal itself seems really scary. And what's a nice, beautiful juxtaposition is when you're taking these small steps, each step isn't actually that scary. Each step is actually relatively comfortable. And so you end up covering this massive amount of ground by doing things that aren't that far out of your comfort zone. You end up achieving incredible things. And it is amazing what you can accomplish in just a few short years. And I also love the way that Karen said, those 10 years are going to pass anyway, right? Like she said something like, you can sit around and moan about your life, or you can go out and have fun. And that time is going to pass anyway. And so I thought it was just neat how she was really, when you boil it down, she was just encouraging everybody to enjoy the journey and to craft the journey as an experience that you actually want to have. I just loved that message. I thought it was so powerful. And then the last piece that I want to call out, this was completely surprising. I didn't think we were going to go there, but Karen was really talking about this idea of her debt reduction courses and helping people get out from underneath debt. But, there's a lot of people who, talk about and teach debt reduction out there. But I love that she did it from the perspective of, saying it's really difficult to enjoy life and live life if you are spending so much time worrying about and thinking about the debt that you have. I love that she's coming from a place of helping people have a more fulfilling, bigger life experience by helping them get out of debt. Bottom line, it is worth it to give yourself the gift of financial freedom. Before we close out today, I want to say thank you to my producer, Cameron Hill, and to my incredible sponsor, Modern Well. If you want to learn more about how you can reach your goals in a one-of-a-kind work-life community, visit www.modernwell.co. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit from this inspiring message. And if you have a moment, click the link in the episode description to leave me a rating and a review on iTunes. It would mean so much to me. Finally, I want to remind you that it is absolutely possible to live a happy, fulfilling life, even in spite of all of the chaos and demands we all experience. Sign up at aprilseifert.com to gain access to tools that will help you do just that. I have carefully created and curated a set of tools that combine the powerful fields of psychology and design thinking to help you intentionally create a fulfilling, happy life you love. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and until next week, stay inspired.